Guys, it's happening. It's actually happening.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
Save the World is really likely actually getting something new and something big, supposedly. So let's see what this is all about.
Procedure, everyone. What's the procedure? Stay calm. Wait. Everybody, calm down.
Hello. I'm CammyG, and welcome back to our Fortnite Save the World videos. Now we've got some more sort of leaks and information about new things that actually really could be coming to save the world. This all comes from, once again, some from Archer, but the tweet I have is from Nearby Leaks, and it's basically titled First Chapter 7 Leaks, because we're in Chapter 6 at the moment, saying that someone got sent a height map, which is basically what describes the terrain. It shows the height, basically. You can see it here, which just shows how high up things are on the map. It's like a 2D version that you would overlay, and then it would, increase the height of something that's codenamed Hestia, if I'm even saying that, and that has Voyage in it, which is definitely not the Chapter 7 map, because that's codenamed Terror. So we know this isn't related to Battle Royale Chapter 7, but Hestia is a big upcoming update for Save the World, apparently. Includes resources, weapons, those are spotted by real number sets, and changes to the UI. That was noticed by Archer, who is once again a reliable leak, information for Save the World. And this big Hestia map is roughly 4 times bigger than the Chapter 6 map. So the Chapter 6 map, 4 of those, and you get the Hestia map. So the thought is that this is for Save the World, because it's not Chapter 7, it's not a Battle Royale, unless there's some sort of other mode they're bringing to, I don't know, creative or something. This, has to be for Save the World. Now, there's other leaks and stuff like that would also kind of suggest this, which we'll get onto in a bit, but how wild is that? We actually talked about this on one of our streams a few weeks ago, that I said it would be such a fun concept if, Battle Royale level of players were lobbed onto a big Save the World map. And they all sort of did their own little objectives in the corner of the map, certain areas, and then they'd sort of meet up, come towards the middle. Maybe the storm would come in, you have that already in Save the World modes, like retrieve the data, resupply, stuff like that. And then you'd all meet up in the middle and come together, loads and loads of people to fight one big enemy, similar to the Mythic Storm King, or maybe it'd be several big enemies. There's things like traps and stuff in Save the World, of course, which don't really play a part with big bosses, but there'd still be hundreds of little enemies, sort of scurrying about at the bottom. So I think it really could happen. I think it's a really good idea if it is happening. And yeah, I'm very excited. I hope you guys are excited. Please do let me know if you are excited. Also, if you're new here, please do subscribe. We do a lot of, just content on Save the World all the time. Guides, let's play type, walkthroughs, stuff like this around news around the game. Just definitely subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, there's more info. So Archer tweeted, Hestia looks like it's probably going to be major. Major, he says. The map in the first tweet was just a placeholder and not final, but Hestia is mentioned so many times in the Save the World UI files. You can see the code here, which is basically linked to the Save the World stuff. Hestia is mentioned several times, and yeah, he's basically saying that it can't be anything other than Save the World, and I agree. The only other thing it could potentially be is, sort of a new mode, a new game mode, something like that. But the fact that it's in the Save the World UI files, I mean, it can't be for anything else, surely. We've even got a picture of what looks like a new UI system, because if you look at this screenshot, stuff like schematics, backpack storage, and resources would come under their own tab previously, and the research and upgrades would come under a separate tab in the current system. So if you went to command, that's where you'd have like heroes, survivors, and then you'd have your upgrades and research. And then the armory would have the other ones with collection book in there as well. So if this is on the armory tab, then that would mean command has, you know, your heroes, survivors, but it wouldn't have the upgrades and research. I'm guessing there'd be other stuff in there. You know, they probably didn't want the menus to be too long. They're sort of restructuring things, and that command tab might have some extra things in there that are linked to this new big Hestia map, this game mode. And I don't know, it looks pretty it looks pretty promising to me. I don't even care what this is. I want it to be real, and I just want it to be here right now. Of course, this is likely not something that's going to be coming immediately. Save the World obviously has fewer devs working on it than Battle Royale, which means things take longer. But I think we've had positive things this year. You know, we've had 2 new heroes with Flutter and Hotwire. We've had a new weapon, the Ancient Launcher. I think those were sort of breadcrumbs that maybe are leading to this. And we've also had the other leaks earlier, which may or may not be true around the sort of Maple Leaf area. But this looks a lot more promising, a lot bigger, and honestly kind of crazy. If this is a huge map for Save the World, this is something big. Like Archer says, I agree, it is massive. Now, if you look at the picture of the map, it is a bit weird. It looks like it's cut into segments, the quadrants, you know, the quarters, because you can see the lighting kind of changes very abruptly as you go from one corner to the next. You can really clearly see where it is cut, which is a bit suspicious. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But I think the main thing for me that makes this a little bit questionable is, if you've been playing the Save the World for a while, you'll know that Save the World maps are very grid-like. You know, to be able to make trap tunnels work and the UI for the husks to work properly with those trap tunnels, everything is on a grid system. It's on squares, you know. Obviously, when you build in Battle Royale, it's on a grid system. But if you go into Save the World now, or if you look in the gameplay and stuff, you can see that the terrain is built to the same sort of, I don't know what you could call it, but it's built to the same, like, it's locked in to where you would place floors and walls and such. Like, ramps are perfectly 45 degrees, or in some cases it can be, you know, a ramp is across 2 tiles instead of 1, but generally it's, you know, 45 degrees. You'd have a flat surface where a house is on top, might be like 4 tiles perfectly long, and then it goes down. Whereas this map looks more fluid, it looks more continuous, it looks like it's not, you know, jaggedy up a lot of flat areas, things like that, which does kind of concern me, because then would we be able to build, you know, stuff like that, and abilities that you place down, like Teddy, Shock Tower, Base, Decoy, stuff like on a flat surface, with if the ground is not level and not flat, are we going to be able to use those? Which makes me think, yes, this might be something to save the world, but I don't think it's going to involve building. And it makes me think, like, you know, Battle Royale used to be build only, and then they brought a zero build. Is this going to be some sort of save the world zero build? Obviously, this is very zoomed out, and this is a very big map, so it could be very flat and grid-like when you actually zoom in there. But from far away, at least, and that's all I can go on here, it looks like it might be something like that. You know, a zero build, save the world, Battle Royale bonanza type mode, where I don't even know what the objective would be. You know, maybe it is just completely new game mode for Save the World. Something where you go in, you know, they've even recently introduced the no item sharing, but only on certain modes. I'm thinking that might have something to do with this as well. Obviously, dungeons you can share stuff. I'm thinking maybe this mode you can as well. And I'm thinking it might have its own dedicated sort of loot pool. So with dungeons, you know, every time you go in, you get fresh set of weapons. You get like some turdy grey weapons at the start, very low tier, and, you know, you work your way up. Same with ventures, you know, you go in, you have nothing, you loot and get them. Every time you go back into ventures, you can use the same weapons. It has like its own separate loadout. Dungeons is fresh every single time. You can only hold 3 weapons. They're very different to each other, but similar in the sense that you can't see what you've got in the main menu like you can with your backpack and storage. This map might be like that. It has its own loot pool, and when you go in there, you can drop weapons for other people, something like that. And maybe that you know, stuff moving from the command tab to the armory tab to free up space on the command tab. Maybe the command tab's going to have something like that for this game mode. You know, a separate backpack. It's going to be probably called something else. You know, well, I was going to say locker, but locker refers to your cosmetics. But you know, whatever it might be called, and maybe you can get like separate skill points for this game mode, and you can use those to unlock certain weapons, unlock more space, and you know, when you go into this game mode, you have that separate thing, those separate things. But I mean, this is really stretching, and I don't think this will be the case. But there's stuff like trading could be on the command tab potentially, but I don't think that would be the case. But the fact that they've freed up space on the command tab by moving those, there must be something in there, and it stands to reason that it would be linked to this map. And because it's so big, there's obviously going to be a lot of looting available once it's actually populated. I mean, this map is very barren right now. I don't see any buildings or structures. It is just terrain. That's why I say we're probably not going to get anything for this for a while. But that, you know, that might not be the case. If it is a zero build, then you have no need to break stuff with your pickaxe to get stuff back. Could still have stuff in there. You know, that doesn't mean they're not going to add buildings, but it sort of relieves the need for, you know, having your wood, brick, and metal. But yeah, honestly, it's exciting times. What do you guys think? Do you think this is for Save the World? At this point, I think it's undeniable. But I wouldn't be surprised that much if they came out and said, "Oh, actually, this is just a new mode for Battle Royale," and then we all just cry. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think this is about? Do you think it is going to be able to build in it? Do you think it's more of a zero build experience, like I think? Do you think there's going to be new mechanics for it? You know, like we have weapons, trap tunnels, and abilities. Maybe there's going to be a fourth thing that comes into play on this map. Who knows? I'd love to see what you guys think. Because one of you guys out there will probably predict what actually happens on this thing. So I'd love to see who can be the guy that, or gal, that actually predicts that. So yeah, please do let me know in the comments. But thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this spouts some sort of inspiration and, you know, love, and brings more people back to the game. You know, this sort of like leak and news and excitement. I really hope it brings more people back to the game. Because this game is beautiful and it's one of the best games I've made. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you so much for watching. Do take care, and yeah, I'll see you later.